Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Football Journeymen podcast.
You better be praying to God because, you're 14 and losses in a row. You're going to need Jesus.
Am I wrong?
I thought you were pretty wrong, yeah.
And we're back with another installment of Fantasy Football Journeyman podcast. This time, you guys might notice the decor is a little different. We are at an away game here at old Barbarino's place.
This guy.
Very swanky joint here. I like the setup. Your full Christmas decor ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I for the past couple of weeks, I've been decorating, by myself, and I'm really trying to pull it together. I'm kidding. My girlfriend's staring at me right now.
Yeah, I gotta shout out Amber for pretty much doing everything that Bobby says that he's doing, and then also cooking some bomb ass meatball. What is it? Meatball sliders.
Yeah,
right?
meatball sliders.
Those were delicious. Already had some. Probably gonna have some more. But yeah, I mean, this is hopefully it's a reoccurring theme to just be over at other people's places. We got the kind of mobile setup.
Our mobile command center by Woj. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it worked out well. Not too much to carry and take
No,
over.
it's starting to become more of a thing. So that's pretty dope here. So this is kind of a first, which I'm super excited about. Kind of where I want the podcast to eventually go is so that we can do Sunday football where you can watch.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many games are on, 6 or something like that right now, and you just kind of keep going with the flow. Like, hey, a touchdown here.
We're clicking through TV, back and forth. Yeah, absolutely. Checking out games.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we mentioned in the last episode, is that this is the crucial make or break week for fantasy. It's basically you win in most leagues, you're in, and if you lose, you're out. And I know that that's the case for me for 2 different ones.
I'm out and I'm in both of them.
Okay, so this is not a make or break for you.
We have a lot on bye, exactly. In the winning leagues that I'm in, we have a lot of people on bye, but at the same time, I don't care.
Right, you are sitting pretty right now.
Now, is there a rule in your league? Because there's not in ours. We don't have to play. We look. Obviously, we don't want people to cheat and not just play people that are out or on bye or injured. But we don't have a rule in our league that says you can't. Like in this example, I don't want to drop anyone. I don't want to shift things around to make a complete team. So,
No, I understand that. If you are not penalized for not playing somebody, that's fine. In 3 Penis Wine, we've had multiple issues in the past of people not setting it. It's led to
that's like what absentee owner though, rather than
it's
like choosing not to set.
So simply what it is that when there's a certain point in the season, some fantasy footballs, it's either one way or the other. They'll either be out of the playoffs, and then they will say, well, screw this, I'm not paying attention at all or whatever.
Oh, I don't like that.
Or they will, still not necessarily making huge moves, but like at least putting people who are playing in a lineup, which is what I do. Even if I'm out, I'm still trying to put together points, so that at least it makes me feel good that like, hey, okay, at the end of the year, even, these ragtag bunch of guys put up 100 points. I'm like, all right, I can go out on a good note. But like I said, 3 Penis Wine, we do have a penalty. You get one free go. We're like, oh, I forgot to do this, or I had a problem, or and again, we're not counting like, let's say you're out of town, like in another country.
About the guy like 3 weeks in a row that there's like 3 guys injured that's on their starting, the absentee owner.
Yeah, but like in our league, you get one, like I would say, free pass.
Right.
And then after I've let you know, like, hey man, you got to set your lineup. You continue to do it. At the end of the year, you're getting the cut, and then Bobby is going to take your place.
Yeah.
So
I'm in the waiting block.
You are first. You're in the on deck circle.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. But so let's do our. We got some bets going on this game, so let's throw those down if you are ready.
Sure. Let me pull. Sorry, I'm not. I'm never ready.
I'm never ready.
Honestly, this is like the 8th time in a row where I'm just not prepared. I do have one. I had like a freebie that I threw out there. Let me just log in and let you know what that is.
All right. So since I'm already up and running, I got a 9-leg parlay going today, a free bet.
Oh, you really went
and
in.
an 11-1. I'm not even going to go through it. If I win it, let's just say
Great.
the podcast is going to be improved significantly. The technological side of it. I got pretty quick and easy ones, 4 and a 5-legger. This is also Woj's Wagers and Bobby's Bets here.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Jared Goff, 200 yards passing. Receiving yards, Jahmyr Gibbs, 26. Alternate rushing yards, David Montgomery, 50. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches. Alternate receptions for Chris Olave with 6. That's pretty, I think it's going to hit. And then C.J. Stroud, I'm just basically going all Texans. I went C.J. Stroud over 265 passing, Nico Collins 35, Tank Dell 61, Dameon Pierce over 30.5 rush.
I like those.
I like Houston this year.
Yeah.
I've been a hater for a long period of time, but
I think that's a solid one. I think that one will pay. I took this one. It was anytime touchdown scores across a few different games. I already got one of them. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Bijan Robinson, and Tyreek Hill.
What's the payout on it?
161.
For what, $10?
Yep.
That
was a
bad.
free $10 bet. So
free $10. Okay, there you
so
go.
I like it. And then the one I did, this one's kind of a longer one, but I like it. It's on the Miami game. I have the over at 29.5, which over 29.5 is for the Carolina-Tampa game. Apologies.
Oh, okay.
Miami winning by a touchdown. Cleveland winning. Jordan Love over 200 yards. And this is just a random one. And then Jacksonville winning. Not bad.
Yeah, that is really all over
It's
the
all
place.
over the place.
That's
Sorry,
crazy.
I do have one though that's just too many.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
you're
just too
really
many. There's too many.
you're going
I'm
nuts.
going, yeah,
on
but
that
I like the anytime touchdown score one that
I like that one too. I very much.
I'm nervous about Bijan though.
I really think that you always with those you have to really select a game that touchdowns are going to get scored. Like
this game, yeah.
Not for nothing, I'm not really putting the Bears. Even though I like DJ Moore to usually get one, I'm like now I'm really on the fence about it. And I'm like I don't really think that he's got the potential. I mean, think of the last game. Oh my God, that was a one-handed pick. Oh,
yeah, Detroit defense, big.
Wow, that was a one-handed pick. Watch this again though. But yeah, I'm just not going off of like the Bears to score touchdowns. They kicked all field goals the last game. It was boring as hell to watch. And that was just. I'm just like you gotta go with teams that have scoring potential. Miami, Detroit's been throwing up a lot of points, even though they had a couple dud games. Doink.
Yep.
And
believe it or not, Kansas City I think kind of flattened off a little bit for like driving points in a game. They used to be over 30 almost every week. Before the.
Can I tell you why? And it's a simple.
Hill.
It's a simple thing. You're kind of in the ballpark, but it's their wide receivers.
Yeah, wide receiver core.
You're trying to go at what I take it as the Green Bay approach. You have a all-star quarterback, and you don't build teams around. Like you don't build your core of like, hey, you need somebody to catch the ball. It's never been more evident than that game that Marquise Valdez-Scantling, former Packer, had wide open touchdown, dropped it, game over, Kansas City loses. It's just like get him a guy who can catch the ball. It's pretty simple in my mind.
Right, and you really don't need like an all-star either. It's not like we're asking for like a Devontae Adams, like some tier 1, just some solid receivers. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I also love it. I think I might have mentioned on another podcast, but like in my Facebook like memories or whatever, the day after that drop came up, and I was like, something to the effect of, if you're in the NFL, you should be catching any passes thrown your way. And I was just like, oh, it's kind of like ironic. It comes out the day after that. But switching gears here, because I know that we've kind of wanted to talk about this for a little bit, though.
Yeah.
So cocktails.
All right, we're getting a good laugh. Okay, well, everyone who just drinks their 20-cent beer like Miller Lite or Bud Light.
Hey, this is yours.
I
This
know.
is
It's
a
nice.
much
It's Kona.
this is an upgrade from Miller Lite.
No, I just for those who don't subscribe to I need a beer, I need bread water.
Okay. Let's calm it down.
But like, what's your favorite cocktail? What do you like to order when you're on vacation, or you're just really trying to do it right?
Okay, so I like that. I like you added the vacation part here. So I'm gonna break it down into kind of like two different categories. So like
Vacation cocktail. Okay.
yeah, like excuse me. When you're on vacation, you would normally not get this one. I'm usually going something that's like not like a strawberry daiquiri necessarily, but something just on the fruitier side. Like I do love like a pineapple vodka. Something along that lines that gets like fruit juice or something like that in there. That's the vacation where I'm like, this is going to cost me $15, but that's fine.
Right, it's
whatever.
vacation money. I get
For
it.
I would say more of the normal everyday. Highball is obviously a good choice for me. That's just
that's a classy drink. Very classy. I like.
Yeah,
that.
I mean the name is if you call it that, or you just say Jack and Coke, but either or. There's that one, and then I would also kind of throw in the Tequila Sunrise is definitely one of my favorites. That if I make the trip to like, hey, I want to get this, and this, I'm drinking Tequila Sunrises for like the next 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah, that's tropical, right where you need it to be. Tequila Sunrise is great. For me, pina coladas, if we're going to be like, if I'm up at a swim-up bar, pina coladas, like you said, your fruitier drinks, that pog juice with vodka is really good. That's pineapple, orange, and guava mixed together.
Oh, I was going to say, you have to explain that because I have no idea what
pineapple, orange juice, and guava mixed in. You throw some, you could either do rum, like white rum, love white rum mixed into that, or vodka.
Bacardi's white rum, right?
They make a white rum, yeah.
Okay. What is Bacardi normally?
No, you're thinking of Bacardi. There's different ways of aging, processing it.
Okay.
So it's silver or gold. That's what you're probably thinking of. Where silver is like clear, gold is where
right.
But white rum's a little bit different. So white rum's I think it's made by Captain, but I think it's a different rum altogether than silver. I think it's sweetened by I know rum's sweetened in itself, but I'm not an expert.
Why is all the rum gone? Little Johnny Depp.
Yeah, other than that,
having fun.
Other than my fruity drinks that, like you said, throw in a strawberry, throw in, your pineapple. I like right here, right next to me, a Manhattan, CC Manhattan.
Yeah, that's a classy drink. If anybody is at a bar and you go, hey, I want a Manhattan. This is also my aversion to those type of drinks, though, is that most bartenders should know how to make a Manhattan.
You're right.
But at certain
places, they will.
Classier places, I would say most bars, like downtown Chicago, usually they know. But like if I'm going to like
a Chili's,
Moretti's, or a Chili's or something like that, which albeit Moretti's does have some good food, decent food.
Yep.
But like again, I'm not ordering like a Manhattan or like hey, give me a martini here.
That's like putting a chandelier in, a trailer park. I get it.
I was gonna say you gotta finish the quote.
No,
there.
but it's something worth noting. Like I said, I always try to play to what they're capable of, and one thing that I really enjoy too is those espresso martinis. So I'm a coffee drinker. I know you're not, but those espresso martinis, really nice way to finish off a meal if you're going dessert, like the whole 3-course, situation.
Right. So I will say that I have had an espresso martini before. And it's. I would say, even though I don't like coffee, I get the desire, like the attraction to it. Like, it is that coffee flavor. It does have alcohol in it. It is like a more, like in my opinion, it's like a more thick type of drink. Like not in consistency, but like it's, I guess, heavier. Where like I'm not drinking 3 espresso martinis.
Right, no,
it's just like one. You're like, oh, it's kind of like almost like a dessert cocktail that, after maybe if you had like a meal or something like that. I totally get why people drink it. Am I going to order it like myself? No. The person I was with ordered it, and I was like, oh, can I try that?
Right.
And it was great. But espresso martinis, again, I get it, just not for me. I don't think a lot.
That's fair. I like all those little martinis. Except I don't like cranberry. So pretty much any martini, except cranberry mixed into it.
Well, I think that we got to definitely do an episode upcoming where we do a little bit of mixology.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah,
I got all my ingredients over there on the counter,
and we can definitely film that and show the magic in action there. The only other thing I did want to point out is we're talking about cocktails and things like that. So you said something the last time that we recorded about Irish carbombs.
Yeah.
And I just want you to repeat. What did you say? How many did you think you could take down?
I feel confident that I could get through. Give me like a 3 to 4 hour window. I could do 3 or 4 car bombs. No problem.
Is it 3 or is it 4? Because this
I'll take a 3 hour window with 4. I could do that.
3 hour window with 4, and you're saying you're feeling.
Oh, I'll be over the moon, but
toasted. Okay, toasted, but not sick.
I'll handle.
Okay.
I manage, you know.
Okay.
Because I like my Guinness and I like my Jameson, so it all just works well for me.
But my biggest problem with the Irish car bomb is
you don't like the cream or the.
No. I love the whole drink in itself, but there is a necessity to drink. You have to chug it.
Yes.
And if you do not chug it, you have ruined then the drink.
Yes.
And it's undrinkable. And I've seen umpteenth amount of times kids at the bar, and I say kids, but it's kids drinking, probably like I was 21 at the time, 22.
Quit aging us. We're not that old.
Well, I say kids at the bar like, oh, yeah, I'm 50. I'm like, okay. But I've seen kids at the bar take an Irish car bomb and then just go, like, you see the whites of their eyes. They're like, this is a mistake. They're about to puke. They're about to, like, gag or whatever. It's a very specific type of way to drink. Like, you have to have that ability to chug it down.
Yeah, you're capable or you're not. There's no off switch. Now, one thing that I'm going to give my brother a shout out. Danny I'm going to give him a shout out. There was 2 cocktails when he was at North Central that when I was visiting, he was always able to make, and it was always a good time. It will get you to that next level. The first one was Bazooka Joe.
What the hell is that?
He was able to, is a concoction that basically when you take a drink.
Oh, this is a Danny's concoction.
Yeah, Danny's.
Okay. And you made it seem like this is just something that he made that's like a known drink. This is Danny has made this.
It is a known drink, but Bazooka Joe and then the Flaming Dr. Peppers. Now, you remember those? Yes, Flaming Dr. Peppers. You got to be very careful. I'll just put advisor. Make sure you're not doing this near any open flame. You're messing with 151, and it's important. Let me emphasize this, important, do not use glass shot glasses because what does glass do when submerged into a colder drink? Right. It'll shatter. So,
but throw out what is Bazooka Joe? What are the ingredients of Bazooka Joe? And then just run through the Flaming Dr. Pepper.
I know the Flaming Dr. Pepper more than I know the Bazooka Joe.
Hit me with that,
you got a third of light beer. You have what is 151.
Okay.
And then Amaretto.
Ah, okay.
So you do the Amaretto 3/4 on a metal shot glass.
Yeah, metal.
151 over a spoon, so it goes on the top. Light it. Mm-hmm. Let it go for a little bit, and then you drop it into the third to half full glass.
Right.
Slam it back.
And then it's supposed to taste
like Dr. Pepper. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, those are great. Those are the ones though that unfortunately.
They can't do it at bars.
Bars don't do it
because of the fire.
Open flame. I mean, some bars will say, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. Right. But most of the time, it's a no-go. And it's something that you have to do at your house, which is like, how often are you really doing like Flaming Dr. Pepper? Unless it's like an event.
I'm just saying be safe with it. Have fun with it, but be safe.
Well, maybe we do a Bobby's cocktail hour or something like that.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I got Ryan's reviews. You got, we could throw something for me.
Try and do it. All right, so...
Oh, there you go.
Wait,
brandy old fashioned. That's another. I like old fashioned. You got to muddle the sugar and the. Yeah, so mix in instead of like your whiskey, you mix in brandy. Yeah, no.
I think an old fashioned is one of the drinks that is like it is amazing when it's right, but it is so easy for people to mess up. Like I've had a couple old fashions. Specifically, I think in my cousin's
wedding. They could just throw triple sec in it. No, that's not how you do it.
I think what they made the mistake of, and when you're at my cousin had a wedding in Georgia. Shout out Teresa. I know you're watching this. Probably not. But Teresa's wedding was in like the ceremony was in like a mansion in Georgia that they rented out. It was like a historical property.
Oh, sweet. Were they down by Savannah, or was it like that coastal, or no, or more inland?
Oh, sorry, I take that back. It wasn't in Georgia. It was in Tennessee, actually, near Nashville, near the Grand Ole Opry House, actually.
Oh, very cool.
So right around there, and the bartender's in there is like a hired service or whatever, and I think they made the mistake of thinking that you should make like these as strong as possible so that the guests get fucked up. And with an old-fashioned, I feel like it's very, very easy for it to be, you put a little too much of one thing in there, it ends up being awful because I'm like, it's a very specific, combination. It has to have this amount of this amount of this.
It's sequential too.
And then it, again, I like at least definitely for like the first couple drinks, I like them to weirdly taste good. I don't want to be like, drinking a
straight
half
alcohol,
a Jack and then a splash of Coke in there. It's like, this is awful.
Right.
But, a little trip down memory lane with cocktail stories. But yeah, I think we'll mix in a cocktail hour or something like that. That seems like a good idea. So we got a couple last things to wrap up here for the first segment here. Let's just run through it real quick. So
sure.
Excuse me. The New Orleans QB situation. We are currently watching the Lions and the oh my God. The Lions are just putting a beat down on the Saints right now.
21-0 and there's still 8 minutes left in the first quarter.
I also think that you got
I was
Nola.
against them in one of my bets. I picked Nola, so
you did pick Nola, yeah.
So no, that one's dead.
That one's pretty much dead in the water.
Feels good to know it's gone right
But
away.
but let's at least dive into this QB situation. So it's kind of been notated here on the podcast that you and Ryan are definitely not a fan of Derek Carr. I was a fan of him until probably the last couple weeks, where I'm just like, I thought he would kind of rebound, do something. It's just not really happening. Like, he just still looks like kind of, mid-tier quarterback, nothing great. They got Jameis Winston waiting in the wing.
They have Hill as well, who I know isn't QB by designation, but still a QB.
So those are the guys that you got. But realistically, I mean, who do you go for? I mean, do you just scrap I think Derek Carr's contract is at least for another couple of years. Like, I know that they signed him to a good amount of money. This is his second year, maybe.
Yeah, but you think about some of the other talent. I'll pause you right there. We got Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Olave, who's definitely gonna be asking for more for his performance, because I'm thinking his contract's coming up soon.
Still got another year.
Okay, but still, and then you have Taysom Hill, and I mean, he's a total Swiss Army knife. But these people, and then you have on the defensive side of things, you have Jordan Cameron, and a bunch of those guys too, like Lattimore. Like, you're not going to have enough to pay all these people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the initial question is definitely on the, like, what do you do at quarterback? And then we'll kind of spread out.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think their budget doesn't allow them to keep a good team in the next 24 months.
Okay, I mean, but Derek Carr.
Let's go in the quarterback situation. You have Derek Carr and you have Jameis Winston. We could talk about both of them. Jameis Winston, more of a cowboy. He likes to sling it up there. He connected well with Evans when he was in Tampa, and Derek Carr, who came over from the Raiders. He was never really outstanding as a quarterback at the Raiders while playing with them. And he had some talent. He had Devontae Adams. He had talent around him, but the Raiders haven't been. Dude, the Raiders haven't been in any conversations. But yeah, let's.
All right, so let me give you Derek Carr's contract, which is gonna completely flip where your mind. Well, at least I think where anybody's mindset is logically gonna go here. 2024, $35 million. This is a cap hit, annual cap hit. $35 million. 2024, 2025, $45 million. 2026, $55 million. 2027, $5.7 million, and it can be voided.
I will take 1% of that, and you can put me on the team.
What?
For the amount of money they're paying him.
I'm
putting my designation out there for the Saints. If they need someone, I'll take a 1% of that contract and run with it.
I think I already did. I made a plea to the Bears, and I was like, if you want a kicker, I can definitely do it. But, again, I think the contract really puts them into a rough spot, where they are going to have to stay with Derek Carr for at least a year or so, unless there's like another situation that comes up, whether he can request a trade or, he says, hey, I'm taking less money, restructuring the contract. But I do agree with your statement, though, that there really isn't a whole lot of money. Like, you can't shell out money to Kamara and Michael Thomas and Olave in a couple years. Defensive players as well. They got Tyrann Mathieu. They got Jordan Cameron. Yep. These guys are like going to still command some money, and I think that their team definitely looks a lot different in the coming years or so. But again, I just think that they kind of hit their heyday, and now you see kind of the decline. I know Sean is definitely not.
Sean, we have Sean, my brother-in-law. Yeah. He loves the Saints, and
it's probably not gonna love the conversation. But Sean, unfortunately, I think
this is a harsh reality you have to deal with. You guys are gonna go the way of my Packers right now, and I think it's actually gonna be worse.
I mean, I think you have to just understand with any franchise that there is going to be
it's a roller
a
coaster, ups
lull
and downs.
where, you're on the downturn. Things just unfortunately aren't going super, well. And again, I think that you see a lot of these guys end up, again, traded, whatever. It's just, it's unfortunate to see because the Saints are always usually in the conversation. But again, it's inevitable. You're going to have to hit a point.
I was in such a heyday with the Packers for like 2 decades, and now, the sun's setting. So.
All right, and then to kind of finish off here, we got San Fran Philly preview coming up. So this should be the best game of the week, honestly, if I'm looking at anything.
This is the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, if Burrow was healthy, maybe Bengals, Jaguars.
That's AFC. I'm saying this is the NFC.
Oh, no. I was just saying of this individual week that this should be the best game, best two teams going at it. But, I mean, hit me with your kind of expectation. What do you think happens?
I think Philly's defense is suspect, right? You do have Hurts. You do have Hurts. You do have A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You have Devonta Smith. You have Swift. You have a lot of good offensive, caliber, just people that you could rely on, Philly. But their defense, very suspect against San Fran, who has a very strong defense and has the same types of arsenal as Philly, I would say. You have Kittle. You have Debo now. You have Christian McCaffrey. You have Ayuk.
They're healthy.
They're all healthy, and their defense have always been just top tier. I know they had a lull in the, in this season where they had a few losses.
3 games in a row, yeah.
But I think since then, I think they've really ratcheted it up. So
okay, sorry. As you're saying this,
San
I do
Fran.
have to. I am going to get to my comments on there. So this guy Bruce Irvin, I believe it was Bruce Irvin, is who the Bears signed a couple years. I am actually going to fact check on this. Let me. I just kind of flip flop, but I'm going to flip flop back.
Yep.
So San Fran, Philly. I think Philly with their win at Buffalo shows that they're definitely the most complete team in terms of, defense might not be the greatest, but you can see that they have a way to get the ball down the field. And then I think the most crucial point of their team is that with Jalen Hurts playing like he does, where he can run for 15 yards. Brock Purdy, I think, can do that, but they don't design runs for him.
No.
And that kind of takes away from that. So, if they did more design runs where he gets out, I think Brock Purdy becomes a better quarterback and better for the San Fran team. Needless to say, though, San Fran is still going to be San Fran. They're still going to dump it off to Christian McCaffrey. If Christian McCaffrey does Christian McCaffrey things, I mean, I got San Fran in this one, but I think Philly at least puts up a good fight and maybe sneaks out with a field goal kick. You saw their team.
It's gonna be based on turnovers. I really think that the outcome of that game will be based on the team that creates less turnovers. I know that's a very generic thing to say, but San Fran has had their troubles in the past with turnovers, so they're really gonna have to, tighten up their game plan and figure out a good, scheme of different plays that will, just take advantage of what they, what the defense is showing.
Right. So I do want to end with this. I know it's not going to be the most riveting, information here. So, okay, so it's not Bruce Irvin. Who the heck was this? Okay, coming up in the next segment, I'll get you. It's just literally
our research department.
Yeah, we'll kick it over to the nerds and research. But it really what it is that there's one signing that the Bears made that is the most frustrating signing I've ever had from a contract standpoint and all this stuff. So I'm going to get into that in the upcoming segment here.
Okay.
But, we'll wrap it up here. We got, this is what I love about this, doing it on Sunday is that, we are just into the first, end of the first quarter in these Sunday games.
Yep.
It's going. Points are starting to flow in.
Whereas Detroit players right now are loving life. It's 21-0. They just got the ball back. It's going to be 28-0 before the end of the first.
I mean, Derek Carr looks really bad, as we were talking about New Orleans QB.
Yeah.
It's so tough that they're stuck on the hook for his money, but what are you going to do? You're in New Orleans, Sean. I'm sorry to say, but you're not looking the greatest. So we'll talk to you in a little bit. Feel it out. I'm going to go eat some more meatball sandwiches and stuff, and we'll figure it out from there.
All right. You guys take it easy.
Adios. And take two. Okay, so we are back with the Fantasy Football Journeymen podcast. We got Barbarino and myself, Woj, just chilling out at the Bob's Casa, having a good old time. We do want to start this kind of segment here, which I, again, unintentionally teased because I couldn't figure out the guy's goddamn name. But it was the defensive end, Robert Quinn. So, Bobby, what I remember here is that the Bears were looking for a defensive end. They had kind of, I think, right at the end of the year, it was definitely a need that they needed to address. And Robert Quinn was out there. He was like an aging pass rusher. Like now he's 33, so a couple years ago he would have been 29, 30.
What team is he coming from?
He was on the Eagles for a couple years. And so I take that back. I think he might have been on the Rams. I'm sorry. He was on the Rams prior to that. He's now on the Eagles. But the problem is that this guy went through all of free agency. Nobody picked him up, right? Nobody tried
that's an indicator right there.
Nobody tried to sign him. So the Bears are like, all right, we'll sign him. I'm like, that's great. We get him for basically nothing. We can sign him to whatever contract that we get. And the Bears proceeded to sign him for like a couple mil at the time, and I think I'm looking at the numbers right here. Cap hit 1 year was $6 million. The next year was $11 million. We signed him to a 4-year deal, of which he made it 2 years into that. So the problem that I have is that you're spending all this money at the guy that wasn't like picked up by anybody. Yes, he has a name on him, but at the same time, I feel like if nobody is trying to sign you, you should be able to get a discount on that guy when you actually make the deal with him. Second to that, he had like 1 year where I think he set the Bears record in sacks, franchise record in sacks with like 12 or something like that a year. Granted, a good year, but just in retrospect of like what we paid for him, what we did, and then the kicker of it all is that they just ended up releasing him. They didn't try and trade him, didn't try and do anything. They just released him.
So you're telling me $18 million and, somewhat good performance, and that's it.
So, I mean, I think we took a hit of $18 million over 2 years, and, you got one decent year out of him, which is great. But, like, it's just, the fact of the matter is, like, why are you signing this guy to a big deal? And then this is exactly kind of what happens. The guy doesn't perform. You want to move on, but because of the hit, you're just eating dead money. And I can't.
Hasn't that been the Bears MO for the past since I've been around?
I mean, they don't make good financial decisions. I mean, that's not a secret at all. But like I said, I just want to put that in there because that's one of my most hated Bears contracts.
It blows my mind. And keep in mind, I think athletes, they're due what they should be paid rightfully. But it seems like these contracts now are exploding to the point where it's like you either sign this quarterback or we don't do any type of research or development or any It's like you have to cut off your arm to keep a team, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I really look at it as like the management is like, what are you evaluating here that you see that he warrants this amount of money? I mean, that's been easily the Bears' biggest, problem over the last, I would say probably 10 years is just like they're not evaluating people correctly. They're paying people that don't deserve to be paid. And then when it doesn't work out, then they're either cutting them or not getting their trade value, which I have a real problem with. Is like do better at that area so that we can then turn those picks into actually hopefully potential starters.
Valuable switch. That's that's a transition to another sport, but Moneyball, where it's like I'm going to evaluate the talent of the individual, not so much the hype of the individual. Now, keep in mind the hype and talent could be one and the same. But, you have an Oakland, the Oakland Athletics team in the, 70s, 80s.
Well, they're going to be moving to Vegas soon. I
think that bothers me. Oakland is just losing all of their teams. But regardless, you have, the right combination of talent that could win you games. I mean, they went to the World Series, those years with one of the lowest cap, teams in the league.
Right.
So it's like, that's what we need to do. You find the right combination of talent, you're going to have a great team.
No, I definitely agree, and yeah, the Moneyball, great movie, by the way. That might be we might need to review a sports movie.
Well, yeah, one of these days. Because the idea is, I guess, from the NFL perspective, is the Cleveland Browns. From the MLB perspective, it is the Yankees, where you could literally have the highest cap on any given team, get the right type of talent, get these all-stars, and still not win.
Well, I think there is also something to be said, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but MLB with that salary cap is basically the team can put in good strip sack. Oh, strip and score.
Strip score. Houston.
Damn, Houston.
All right, Denver. Good night. Yeah. All right, this one's over.
But just correct me if I'm wrong here, but in money, the salary cap is based on the how much money the owner puts into it. The NFL, I believe, is a mandatory. This is how much you can spend. I think it's like $125 million or something like that.
And I think you
year.
have to pay a penalty in the MLB. I think you're right, but
luxury tax is a thing.
Like I said, but for the Yankees, they don't give a shit.
Right?
It's never been. But that's what I'm saying. You could buy all the right types of professionals to add to your roster, but that doesn't make them a winning team.
True. So this is the defensive kind of alignment.
I like this one.
Is the thing that I wanted to discuss because we're. In generally speaking, I feel like we're both very,
offensive.
No. I would just say, in terms of positional, we like to kind of diagnose the positions of this is how they should. You do it a lot of the times where you're like, oh, well, this guy's coming this way, as a corner or a linebacker. You'll do it a lot of times where oh, well, he really should have been taking this angle at it. It's oh, you need to cut that block. You do a lot of act outs, in the interim. But hit me with. So I'll give you two positions. You can pick of two positions of the defense, and I'm looking for again what you think is the most two crucial positions that you need to have stout defensive players in those positions in order to be successful defense.
All right, just going with. In general, I'll say the defensive line, but if I have to go position itself, nose guard. You need someone across center that really knows how to disrupt, block up that A gap, and coordinate his linemen, because you're the captain of the, defensive line to, scheme and say, hey, we're going to stunt here. We're going to take you are the one coordinating that. Now, the second guess that most people would go to, oh, you need a great middle linebacker. I'm not going that path. I think you need a great safety. And why I say that is especially in this day and age, we have a West Coast offensive scheme. The fullback has all been pretty much, extinct outside of maybe a few different teams in the league that actually utilize one. But if you don't have a competent safety back there, a well-off safety, these guys are going to go over top on you all day. I mean, you saw it with I know Dallas pulled off the win, but DK Metcalf. Okay, I'm going to just chuck it up there. And we just had a shout-out with Bland, breaking records.
The week right before,
oh, my God. He allowed, 250 on him alone, I think.
Over total, because they did the stat of, on single man coverage, his, completions, yardage, and touchdowns, he was, 7 for 9 for 190 yards or something like that and 2 touchdowns. So it's just such a day and night kind of comparison for him. Playing, in my opinion, Dallas has just not played good teams, and that's where Deron Bland has been feasting by getting these picks, sixes, and all this stuff.
He's playing aggressive, which I love, but
this is exactly where you see it, that if you play aggressive on a guy like DK Metcalf, who if you do not get him tackled up, wrapped up, gang tackled, he is gone. There is no catching him, so it was a thing of playing aggressive works well against bad teams, but when you play against a team who, breakaway speed, this guy's a freak of nature, you're going to get burned, and that's exactly what happened. Sorry, it was just a little tidbit in there
those are my two positions, call it nose guard and a safety, strong safety, I'll call it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely stay on the defensive line, but I'm actually going to go edge rusher.
Okay.
I think that an edge rusher, and obviously we have a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett right now. They are game disruptors, and that's really what I look at as going to be crucial on third downs, getting to the quarterback or at least putting pressure on him.
Early downs, too. Those are the same guys that could, disrupt the backfield. I agree with you. I think that, if instead of, 1st and 10 and you have a D end like Crosby, from Oakland, all these D ends that are just really out there doing great.
You mean Vegas, right?
Sorry, Vegas.
No, I'm kidding.
No, it doesn't matter. But it's like now it's 2nd and 12. You get that tackle for loss. That's incredible. I love seeing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree that earlier downs are definitely it's helpful to get them back so that it is a thing of like, hey, now we have a longer 3rd down. But I just think that when you get later in the game and you have like a TJ Watt or a Myles Garrett, now you are having to plan for him. You can't just be like, all right, we're just going to throw a tight end and block him.
And you need to almost bring back a running back to help.
Usually a guy of that caliber will need like a chip off the tight end and a blocker on the right tackle or left tackle. And then on top of that, bringing in the running back to help out with that. So D end, especially in mine, is like
I like it.
One of the most crucial. I then turn to a linebacker, middle linebacker specifically, because I think that the middle linebacker, you said kind of nose tackle to like, stop the run, stuff it and stuff like that. I think that the middle linebacker can do that job and even so have the impact of then dropping back and hopefully taking a couple picks. I look to like Brian Urlacher as like that.
You guys have such a pinnacle
key disruptor, though. I mean, yes, we had like Singletary was definitely a guy before that, but I look at Singletary really didn't have a pass coverage aspect to his game. He was much more
he
run,
plugged holes,
stopping the run, getting to the quarterback, stuff like that. Urlacher, I could see do both. He could stop the run, drop back in coverage, but any like middle linebacker that's really good, like today's comparison would probably be a guy like 54 on San Fran, Fred Warner.
You still got Bobby Wagner in the league, which blows my mind.
Bobby Wagner's still chugging along, but again, it's just like that type of linebacker that is savvy enough to get up in the line, diagnose the run, or diagnose the pass, drop back, get a pick. But like again, I think both of our positional selections will end up having an impact. Like if somebody was like, hey, you just need a safety and like 2 safeties and you'll be good, I absolutely disagree. You have to have multiple what is it
layers.
called but like levels of the defense, kind of like D line, middle linebacker. You have to have competency in both 2 or hopefully 3 of those to really put together a competent defense.
I like that, though, how you like almost hierarchies. You got your line, you got your linebacker level, and then you got your secondary.
Yeah.
But you're right. You need at least 2 out of 3. But I think the most crucial, I think we both agree that if you got to stop them at the line. If your line is getting pushed back 3 yards every time, guess what? I'm going to run on you all day. I won't even pass it. You guys can't stop me on the run. It's going to be a 12-minute drive and us with a touchdown, and then there you go, take the ball.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams in today's NFL, I don't get where they go and try and okay, well the run's working very well, so we're going to just start passing it randomly on one series. It's like, go with what is working. If your run game works and you can run it 30 times a game without really having to pass, that's in winning. Why aren't you doing that? I don't get that. Run the ball.
That's such a killer for the other team, too. If they drain like 8 to 9 minutes off the clock and then score, and then, all right, here you go. You got, 6 minutes left or 5 minutes left in the quarter?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I don't see that, and it's one of the most frustrating things is looking at my Bears slipper here. It's one of the most frustrating things that the Bears do is that there's been games over the last 3 years where the Bears have literally just stopped running the ball. I think one of them was actually one of the most historic
losses that you guys had.
One of the most infamous games of them where they didn't, or they ran, I think, a total of 1 time or something like that, and it was like for 2 yards, and it was like their lowest rushing total yards or something like that. I forget. Again, we don't fact check here. But
you had what was that game like 2 to 3 weeks ago? You guys literally, like, only you guys could find a way to lose that game where you guys were up 20, what was it, 27 to like, 9?
I don't know the score, but the history of it is that there's never been a team with, I believe it was more than 40 minutes of time of possession, has 3 turnovers and a lead, and they ended up losing the game. Yeah, it's definitely a terrible statistic, but that's what the Bears fans have to live with now. The last 6 years, there's been a lot of records set for poor play. not in the good way.
I know. I feel you guys because at least in that game, I'm like, you guys were running the ball well. Like I was watching that game, I was like, they're establishing. They had good. You guys had different movements. Fake to the right and then draw it to the left. But you guys just abandoned that in the second half. I don't know why. I was like, it was working.
It could be one of the most frustrating things to see exactly what you're talking about of like a series where they're doing play actions, they're running design runs with Justin Fields, everything's working, go down, score a touchdown. Awesome. Next possession, they're running 6 screen passes. They're going to go a draw up the middle with like Khalil Herbert, and it's just like, these plays don't work. Why are you running this? It makes no sense. But we've talked about the Bears quite a bit, though, so let's kind of move on here. This is honestly one of my favorite parts
here we go.
Coming up here. So keep it in the fantasy football journeyman kind of moniker here. So we all have nemeses, which I believe is the correct plural.
I don't know.
Correct plural is nemeses. Look it up.
Google it.
But I have nemeses. I'm just going to commit to it.
I like it.
Every draft year, there are guys that I've drafted before. They have absolutely burned me, and now I will never draft them again. Now, let's go back and forth.
Sure.
Just a couple, because I think I got one. I got about 2 or 3. So the first one being, even though he's not in the league really anymore, is Shady McCoy. Shady McCoy destroyed me when the one year he got cut from the team. The other year, I think he got either he was injured or something like that, but ended up literally leading to ridicule for the whole year because every time, I couldn't even talk shit to anybody because anytime I would say anything, they'd be like, hey, how's Shady McCoy going? And I'm like, fuck. So I literally couldn't come back with anything because they always had that over my head. So, all right, I'll toss it over to you, though, after you take a sip.
Yeah, let me get this in. All right, Waller. Darren Waller.
Yeah.
I've said this in previous ones. I'm sure if you guys or anyone who watches our podcast, which are like 8 people, but for the 8 people that do watch it, Waller's always been one of my kryptonites. I drafted him a couple years and just every year just disappoints, and even this year disappointing.
Real disappointing.
So Waller, I will never draft him again. Just heartache. Back to you.
Back to me. I will throw up because I'm trying to also think of somebody that I have drafted before and then ending up really didn't do anything. One that comes to mind is another. It's kind of in the same situation is Leonard Fournette, and he was in I would say kind of the height of his prime on Jacksonville, and it was literally that last year where things imploded. He started getting into fights with the coaching staff,
right,
and then ended up getting basically cut in the preseason, and I was just like. Maybe not in the preseason, but right after I drafted him
early
again
in the season,
and I just was like, "What in the fuck just happened?" And then again, same thing. People just gave me so much shit because I'm like, "How am I supposed to know that this guy's about to get cut?" But go hit me with your.
I'm going to do a combo. Mark Andrews. Which is, I guess, unpopular opinion. He's burned me way too many times for his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really so much about him not being a performer. He's a performer, but so injury-prone it ended up killing me. But Miles Sanders, outside of, I think, maybe, 1 year with Philly, just...
Well, Miles Sanders, man, is it's one of those things where I'm like, I look at it baffled as you're on Philly with the number 1 rushing offense, or definitely top 5. Their design is to run as much as possible if they can, and then they're running with Kenneth Gainwell. They're running these other Boston Scott got a lot of touches, and then the next year or a year ago, then they were like, no, bye bye, we're gonna trade you.
And Carolina paid him, a king's ransom for what?
Nothing.
0 performance. Yeah. So.
Well, also Carolina. I mean, I just would have my personal preference, not preference, but my personal ideology is that I knew that Carolina was going to be bad this year, so I definitely avoided any running back because I just did not trust Bryce Young to come out and be winning games, later into the season here. So, what I will say is I would say one for me, and I'm even going to kind of open it up to this year, and I might get a little bit of. Never mind. I take it back. I was gonna say Patrick Mahomes is really not my favorite right now, but he is not a nemesis. So I'm gonna retract that.
Easy, tread
I'm
lightly
gonna
there.
retract it back.
All of our T-Swift fans.
I made a mistake. Don't
okay.
get me. But you know what? I will put down nemesis. Probably like Julio Jones in the later stages, like where he was still on the Falcons. But like aside from a couple years before that, I love the guy. But then he ended up turning into like every time that I drafted him or like I picked him up, he always just never performed the same after like a certain year. And like now he's still in the league, and I'm like I just can't bring myself to do. I can't pick him up now because it's like, is he really going to do anything on Philadelphia? No. Like, I want him. It's a weird thing because it's like love-hate. Like, I want him to do well, but I just don't see it. You know, like, it's just done. He's
right. And to go with that, I'll just use my last one is Singletary. Now, not to say that he was any of my, starting picks or the first 5 rounds. He wasn't. But the fact was I was in a 14-man league, and I had to pick him up. And this is when he was on Buffalo, and he just... For the life of me, I was just praying for 4 points out of him, and even that was a shot in the dark. And he's playing better on Houston now, which bothers me. So it makes me more hateful.
Doing well
because now he's doing well. So it's like, what's different here? Maybe is it Buffalo? Could Buffalo be the reason? I don't know. But Singletary, I will never pick him up again. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that just a real quick interjection on the Buffalo standpoint is that the Buffalo running backs haven't been good for a long time, and even though their team has been good, it's all Josh Allen rushing the ball or he's tossing it to a receiver. It's just the running backs have never been the key guy on Buffalo, at least for a while. You know what I am going to do is I am going to notate this, though, so that...
Mark it down.
Well, for when we get back on with Ryan, I'm interested to hear Ryan's kind of nemesis because I'm sure he has a couple good grudges, as well. The next segment here... Which, I mean, do you want to get into? I mean, we got the where are they now? We could save that for.
We can save that for later. We can save that for a different time.
Well, let's do what we normally do here, and let's riff. I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about?
Well, first off, big ups for just having you do an away game. I like this because it's showing a different format for our group. Yeah, no, cheers. Hey, I do like our cocktail hour, but we're really seeing a weak performance, and I want to talk about this a little bit and I know we did. I think a few segments back or a few episodes back, the amount of money spent at Denver and the type of return they're getting on their investment would lead me to believe that this organization's hurting because I think the amount of money they put out now. I think the coaching's gotten better. Like, right, you got what's his name from New Orleans coming by to be head coach, but
yeah, I actually want to look up Russell Wilson's contract because this is even crazier.
I think you guys, the amount of zeros in his contracts,
I mean, dude, just listen to this because I believe I looked this up before, and it is wild how much they paid him, and exactly what you're talking about. It's the payment for the lack of performance is really the big story here of like you're having this guy who has proved himself in his career already. Right. Like he could have easily rode into the sunset after Seattle.
There's no need for him to extend his work in the NFL if he didn't want to.
And so like you go to this team, you get the coach that you want. You want Sean Payton coaching Russell Wilson. That's a good one.
There it is, Sean Payton. Thank you.
And this is what you're getting for the cap hit. Which is what I look at
I could already see it from here.
I mean, 17 mil. So his per year earnings for the 2022 was 57 mil, 28 mil, 2023, 2024, 39 mil, 2025, 37
You can almost buy a whole NFL team with that.
Well, the one thing I will mention just real quick, though, is that these are the numbers that you are receiving before taxes. So taxes will pretty much take half of that down.
Okay, I get
just,
that.
Just a quick mention.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is the number that I am looking at here. So dead cap space means that if you moved on from him, this is what's going to count against you.
Right.
His dead cap for the first year was $124 million. Second year, 107 million, 85, and then 49. So even in 2025, if you wanted to get rid of him, and it's like
you're still cutting him checks equal to that amount.
But I mean, it's a thing though. Is like if you just end up cutting him, which I wouldn't think that they would do ever. But you're on the hook for him, and the performance just really hasn't been there. And you have these stars around him, and I say stars. I'm not saying superstars.
Loosely, because I'm not a Judy fan. Sorry.
Not a Judy fan, but he's a competent guy.
Yes.
I'm also thinking that Cortland Sutton can do, good enough things. I think he has a touchdown today. But realistically, you hit it on the head. It's like you're not getting the value of this guy. And then you're also putting yourself in a bind right now. Like, you can't move on from him. He is your quarterback. So, Bobby, with the last couple minutes here.
Can we just do my fall from grace a little bit? I mentioned this early, and I really don't have too much criteria on it.
Okay, so let's do this. No. I absolutely agree. So why don't we have you do set it up, like fall from grace. Give me your definition and give me one team that fits the mold. And then what we're actually going to do is we'll probably bring that up on the next episode, really go full into it, give a couple more examples,
then
but give at
I'll
least
give
one
criteria.
and a definition.
A NFL team that has historically been a formidable team, someone that was playoff bound, acquired the right type of talent, had the right type of coaches in there. They had well-balanced team, special teams, defense, offense. And one team that comes to mind for me, and I'm going to go by their previous name, but the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
The Oakland Raiders for me that's a fall from grace. Now, not all teams, might hit that designation, but for me, that's the team that comes to mind for fall from grace.
Okay. No, I like it. I like the setup. I would definitely, I haven't honestly, very transparently, didn't even think of like a real team. I guess I'll say a team that would at least fit the first part of your definition of like a team that has been formidable for a long time is like Pittsburgh, but I don't look at them as like a fall from grace. So I'm going to take some time.
Yeah, I'm
gonna simmer on it. I'm gonna see what kind of comes up there. But Bob, I'm gonna toss it over to you. Give us a little sign off here. We're gonna end it. We're gonna do a shorter episode this time, just because we feel like it. So I'm going to give it to you. You're signing off from your own.
We appreciate you guys listening in. This is Woj and Bob with our Fantasy Football Journeymen. We'll catch you next time. All right, guys? Stay classy.
San Diego.
No, I'm stealing that. I don't care.
All right. Dope.